Bear Insider. Glad to be back with you after a little bit of a hiatus, kind of coordinating everybody's schedule over the spring break and everything. But back now to talk spring sports, and we'll get started with golf. We're joined by head coach Taylor Auman and senior Savannah Stone. Thank you both for being here today.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
And coming back now, a few tournaments into the spring season after getting the winter off of course. And Coach, how do you feel the team has been able to come back from the time off? I guess 3 tournaments for the women and a couple for the men so far.
Yeah, we put in a lot of time this winter practicing. It was a light winter, so it was kind of nice for us. We got to play a little bit. But I would say we did get some of the rust off over spring break, and that was helpful that we got to go down to Arizona and play. But the women this past weekend made a good comeback from the weekend before. I think they had a 25 stroke difference from their first round 2 weekends ago to this last weekend. So I was impressed. I was really impressed. The weather was really cold. It was rainy the first day in the practice round, but they were having fun and their attitudes were great. So I was very, very impressed.
When you go down to Arizona, obviously both teams competed down there. Are you able to get some good practices in down there in the reliable weather as well?
Yeah, it was probably 85 to 90 every day, so nothing to complain about. The courses were all in great shape. Just a little bit hard to get used to the desert golf because we're not used to that up here. But it was really nice to get good practice in every day. We'd go practice in the morning and then play in the afternoon. So it was good to have that team chemistry back and just get back into that tournament mode.
Barring any unforeseen weather, are the courses pretty close up here to being able to compete?
Yeah, so we're at Upper Iowa this weekend, and I know that the weather's a little bit iffy. It usually always is at Upper Iowa, so we'll see. Hopefully it doesn't snow, so that's the only thing we're hoping for. We can play in the cold, but the snow kind of hurts you.
And Savannah, what kind of progress, Taylor mentioned it a little bit, but what kind of progress was the team able to make down at Nebraska Kearney second round, the lowest round you've posted the entire season, including the fall, and bringing the scores down across the board?
Yeah, like Taylor said, we worked really hard over the winter, practicing, lifting, and I think that all just came together on the second day. We just were able to put 4 scores together, which is sometimes hard for us. But everybody came together on that second day, and I think all of our games were just all right there, so that helped a lot.
You mentioned preparing over the winter, and golf kind of unusual that you get that long break in between the 2 seasons. For you individually, what kind of things were you working on over that winter time?
A lot of short game stuff. That's kind of the main thing you can focus on in the winter since we don't have the ability to kind of be outside all the time. And then we were able to go over to Highland, and they have a garage door so we can actually see our shots. And then we worked a lot in the weight room too, so we are definitely able to see that over spring break, just being able to hit it farther, a little bit stronger, able to stay out on the course mentally a little bit better as well. So.
And how do you think you and the rest of the team can build on the results in that last tournament now going forward?
Yeah, I think that really gives us the motivation going into Upper Iowa. It's a little bit tighter course at Upper Iowa, but I think we'll be able to bring our short game and get that going at Upper Iowa, and then through the rest of the season. I know we have conference coming up. We'll actually be at Bunker Hills in a couple weekends, so that'll be kind of a home tournament for us, so that'll be nice to be close to home. But yeah, we're really looking forward to it, and I think we have a lot of momentum going into the rest of the spring season now.
And Taylor, I mentioned it, the men's team hasn't competed quite as much so far here in the spring season, but what have you seen from them coming back so far, certainly in practices and when they have been out on the course?
Yeah, their attitudes have been pretty good. I think they all worked really hard this winter on getting a little bit longer and making their short games a little bit sharper. And I saw that over spring break. They played pretty well over spring break. They just lost to Sioux Falls by 2 strokes. So that was a little upsetting for the whole team. But I think shooting that 296, that was what their goal has been, to break 300 every round that they can. Last weekend, the second round total was a little bit rough, but they played 27 the first day and then 9 the second day because of the weather. But that first 18 holes was really good for them, and I think they proved to themselves that they can compete with all those teams out there. So I think going off of that first round and going into this weekend at Upper Iowa, I think they're gonna do pretty well.
This is the case for all the spring sports, but it's a pretty condensed schedule, certainly over the month or so. And so as you talk about getting ready for conference, not a lot of tournaments to do that. What's kind of the key to getting prepared when it's such a condensed schedule? You don't get a lot of time.
Just keeping the level of competition really high at practice, making sure that they're always playing some type of competition game, whether it be playing 18 holes or 9 holes, or just like chipping games or something like that. So just keeping the competition high and keeping them in that tournament mode. That's really like the goal for us, is to just be able to compete every single day. I know the season is short, but if we can just compete and stay in that tournament mindset, I think that they'll do pretty well at conference.
Well, Taylor, Savannah, thank you both for being here, and good luck over the next few weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Taylor Auman and Savannah Stone here on Golden Bear Insider. As we continue on here, and you can check out the full golf schedule, cspbears.com, as well as all the information on all the spring sports we'll be talking about. It'll be available there, so you can get updates on all the events and see what's coming up throughout the next month or so here for golf. And that's true as well of track and field. We're going to transition to that here. Track and field team getting ready to start their outdoor season coming up this coming weekend. So we're joined by head coach Sam Johnson, also junior Wakpor Ighovojah, and we thank you both for being here today.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks, Dan.
And Coach, haven't talked to you, I guess, since the outdoor season wrapped up, end of February. You had the conference meet for that, and women able to finish in 6th place in that meet, the men in 10th. Were you pretty happy with what you ended up seeing at the end of the the indoor season there?
Yes, we really were. It was kind of a banner year for the women's program. A theme that has kind of been existent in my time as the head coach of the program has been that every year the women's team has become more and more talented, and it's finally starting to show up in our conference results, just with regard to where we're placing and how many points we're scoring, and just becoming a more legitimate contender for individual places and things like that across the board. So it was a banner year for the ladies, and then the guys, we're down a little bit this year with regard to where we typically finish, but they came up and pulled out a gutsy performance, scored some points in places we weren't supposed to, and overall achieved more than what was supposed to be achieved by our men's team as it was written on paper. So we were satisfied to a degree, but we're looking forward to moving into the outdoor season here.
And when you kind of analyze that conference meet, do you see then some areas where you can kind of pick up points and get that improved result when you end up going to conference for the outdoor season?
Yeah, I mean, the outdoor season for track and field purposes is it's a little bit different meet, different events. You're always dealing with adverse weather conditions, it seems like, in and out of every week. So really the outdoor season is about mental resilience as much as it is about being physically prepared, and that's what we're trying to instill in the athletes at this point in the season, when we're just getting outside consistently now and it's still not great conditions for us.
And so you've had about a month here now since that wrapped up, and as I mentioned, getting ready to start the outdoor season now coming up this weekend. How do you kind of balance that in March, wanting to keep everybody in shape and sharp and all that, but you've also had a lot of meets over the course of the indoor season, and I imagine want to kind of balance that with also getting the athletes some rest?
Yeah, so the month in between the indoor and outdoor seasons for a majority of our team starts to resemble more of a fall training stimulus, where we're not focused as much on high intensity, high energy repetitions on the track or in our field events. It's more about kind of getting back to the basics, retraining, getting in shape in order to carry some fitness into the outdoor season. So in that regard, not having great weather conditions hasn't played a huge role in us modifying what we need to do day to day in a practice session. It's because it's a lot more, again, conditioning based work as we transition into the outdoor season. So.
And Wakpor, for you led the women's effort in that conference meet, finished all conference in the pentathlon. You picked up about 100 points in your score from when you competed kind of earlier on in the indoor season. Where were you kind of able to make those gains and see that great improvement in a big meet like that?
At the conference multi, I didn't have any big PRs that day, but overall it was just like a solid effort. So I came pretty close to PRs in every event, so that helped a lot. But coming close to PRs was better than I left off last indoors, so I was able to put up more points. But I definitely didn't do that without just having a great team or great training group and great coaching staff. So they helped a lot. It was a team effort.
Coach mentioned kind of the steady improvement from the team, especially on the women's side. You're in your junior year now. How's that kind of manifested itself for you? How have you seen, you and your teammates just continue to grow and get better?
I'm honestly so proud of this team. There's a lot to smile about after this indoor, but being here the last few years, every single year we have the preseason poll coach, or the preseason's poll. And every year we've been projected like 12th or 13th, and that's kind of like definitely lit a fuel under my butt per se. But just coming to the conference meet and like finally being a top 8 team, like we said, every year I've looked around and said that there's so much talent on the team and that projection didn't represent what I saw. But going into that and actually ending up with the points that we were projected, coming out of it 6th and just having that like energy was, I don't know, really good to see. And then I think like part of that too is just due to the culture change this year. I think there's a different sense of commitment, and everyone really like bought into the vision that we saw, and we reaped the benefits of it. So it was a really exciting indoor season.
With that outdoor season kind of being more of a mental grind, dealing with the weather, how do you prepare yourself for that to still compete well in those meets?
I think one of the big things we always focus on is just like the mental piece, like always focus on the positives, not the negatives. So living in Minnesota, you never know what you're going to get with weather. So we try to practice outside a lot with just different weather conditions, but we always talk a lot about control what you can control, and sometimes that's not the weather, so just always like having that positive mindset.
And Coach, we'll be talking to you again in the next few weeks, but just kind of looking at the outdoor schedule, a couple meets obviously stand out. You've got your Hulst Invitational coming up again on April 22nd. Have hosted that the last few years. Who kind of an early sense of who's going to be competing in that and what fans could see that day?
Yeah, it's going to be a mix of conference schools that we're very familiar with, and then the local D3 suspects from the MIAC. So it's a nice mix of levels of competition. We'll get some of the U of M athletes over here as well. So, the nice thing about track is regardless of what NCAA division you're competing at, you're always going to find somebody that is at your level or better and kind of push you to get after it a little bit more. So.
And then the Hulst will be kind of a prelude to hosting the conference meet coming up at the end of the year. And what does that kind of mean for the team? Obviously, you circle the conference meet every year anyways, but just kind of having that as a carrot at the end of the season, getting that opportunity to host the meet.
Yeah, I mean, we're hoping that it's good for at least a few points in the point total, just having home field advantage. But really, it's going to be a nice setup in a sense that we don't have to travel. You get to sleep in your own bed for those extra couple of nights. The preparation schedule is going to be a little bit more in our favor too, with not having to travel. So what we're learning as a staff is it's quite a big undertaking, and we're getting ahead of the game even more than we think we need to at this point, just making sure that we put on a really high level, high quality championship event for not just our student athletes, but the conference as a whole, because we want to be able to do it again in the future.
Well, thank you both very much for being here today, and we'll talk to you again soon.
All right, thanks, Dan.
Sam Johnson, Wakpor Ighovojah here on Golden Bear Insider as the track team gets ready to start the outdoor season. Their first meet will be this weekend, and then again we'll do another show here in the early part of April most likely, so we'll kind of talk a little more in depth about that Hulst Invitational and the conference meet coming up here on the Concordia campus. Be a good chance to see the track team compete, and had a lot of chances to see the lacrosse team compete, including last weekend. They'll be back at the Concordia Dome again coming up here tomorrow as we record this on a Thursday. So we're joined by head coach Mo Dunnigan, also freshman Maddie Hentges, and thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having us.
And it kind of been a while, I guess, since we talked, actually before the season started in February. So a lot of games that you've had since then, certainly as you get down to the end of the schedule now. But just as you, Coach, as you kind of look back at everything, how is this compared to your expectations going into the year?
Yeah, to be in where we're at in the season right now and have a 7-5 record, it's something that I'm very proud of our ladies for, and I'm very impressed with. But by no means, did I expect anything less throughout the process. So we're definitely meeting my expectations in the fact that we're going to come out here and not use the excuse of being a young team or being a first-year program. We're going to be able to leverage that into the success that we've seen.
You can just, I guess both of you take me back to that first game of the year. Covering that, it was a great atmosphere inside the dome, a lot of fans, all the pregame ceremonies and that. Then you were able to get the win as well. Just kind of what that night was like after so much preparation geared toward it.
Well, we were definitely proud of everything we accomplished. It was a huge honor to be a part of making history and being the first Division II program, and I think we set a huge stage for programs in the future for Division II lacrosse and the upper Midwest to follow.
Yeah, to really actually see it finally all come together and culminate was huge, and to have so many people in our corner that were there supporting us, because it's been a whole big process, and without a lot of people that were there that night, we wouldn't have been able to be here today right now. So really, that atmosphere was great. We had so many great fans who came out and supported us. We packed that dome full, so that was pretty neat.
And Coach, after quite a few years of really just focused on building up this program and everything, and I'm sure there are a lot of aspects of that you enjoy, but it's been kind of nice to just sort of settle into a regular coaching routine now and just get ready for games and work with your players.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really funny to be here for almost a year and a half and not coach an athlete. That's such an odd role for a head coach to have, and so to be in here and to actually working with the girls and settling into that normal role, like you said, has been amazing, and we've really, really liked it, and I couldn't imagine any other way with anybody else alongside of us. So.
And Maddie, what have you kind of learned over the course now of these 12 games as you adjust from high school lacrosse to this college level?
Well, it was definitely a huge adjustment, and especially the coaches have high expectations that we have to reach the next level every single day, and we can never go through the motions in practice, and we just have to keep our intensity high so we reach the next level and to the Division II opponents we play.
And what have you kind of learned from seeing teams at so many different levels? You've played, I guess, some NAIA programs, some top Division II programs. You've had a lot of different types of results, and so you've been able to see teams kind of across the spectrum.
Yeah, well, their plays are really complex, and they have a lot of stick skills, and they can move the ball really quick. So that's what we're trying to get to, is working together and getting past the one-pass offense, and also our defense. We're making sure we're crashing, and our goalie's definitely been able to step up too for that role.
Yeah, and on that same note, we have really seen such a vast variety in different type of opponents, right? So we've dug out our first Division II win, a come from behind against Rockhurst, and that was a huge moment for our program to be able to say that we can do that against an established program. Mm-hmm. And then we've obviously played, Florida Tech, a nationally ranked opponent, Kendra, which I'm sure is on their way there. And, that's really set the stage and shown us where we need to get to and some things that we need to strive for, right? And then we have those other side of the opponents where we've found a lot of success, and all of those things combined, that gives us the opportunity to get into a flow and into our systems and to see what it looks like against a brand new defense, while also, still challenging ourselves. And I think our schedule is balanced in the fact that we get to kind of see all of those different aspects.
You mentioned the balance in the schedule. One kind of strength you've had is a very balanced offense. Don't necessarily rely on one particular player to score. Maddie, you've been a big part of that, but really pretty even amongst 5 or 6 different players. What does that kind of allow the team to do to have so many different scoring options?
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty big, foundation of our offense, is that we're not, going to be a 1 or 2 player team. And, Maddie's done a great job sharing the ball and taking it when needed. And, that goes along for the rest of our players. And our offensive systems and schemes that we have in place are designed so anybody can step into that role, and we've practiced and prepared for that opportunity. So many of our athletes are ready to rise to the occasion when needed.
You'll play Northern Michigan tomorrow, and that's a team you saw earlier this year on the road. You're able to get a win, and I'm sure something you hope eventually as you get settled into a conference, you'll be doing that more, seeing teams for a second time. But what will that, first time that's happened this year, kind of being able to play an opponent you've seen before?
Yeah, do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Well, they recently sent out an article saying that they're out for blood. And so I think it's definitely, well, it's nice being able to play a team for the second time because we know what they're after and how we can beat them. But I definitely think if we execute our plays, get the ball in the back of the net, we can get the W for the second time.
Yeah, and, for us, we played them in fall ball. We played them in the regular season, obviously, and to beat an opponent 3 times in a season in any sport at any level is not an easy feat. And so we have to know that, and we have to go in there expecting to play a full 60 and expecting to, execute at all levels to be able to come away with that win. And, I think it's really good feel for the girls to know that, we finally, maybe are starting to develop, somewhat of a rivalry because we do see each other and we are at relatively similar stages in our growth of a program. So
you got 4 games left now on the schedule, including that one tomorrow. What are kind of the goals to finish strong and build into next year?
Yeah, I think a big shift that I've seen throughout the season is our ladies. We do have 18 freshmen, and I think they're finally really carrying themselves as Division II athletes. When we're at practice, they're carrying themselves. You can tell there's a different aura around them. And so to see that and to really put that into play against some of these opponents coming up, we have, a tough last 4 games. None of these games are, easy games by any stretch of the imagination. And we do have another ranked opponent on the schedule. And I think, we can really start putting this stuff together and I absolutely expect some W's down the road for our team.
Well, thank you both very much for being here, and we'll talk to you again next month.
Great.
Thank you.
Mo Dunnigan and Maddie Hentges here on Golden Bear Insider. Again, 2 more chances to check out Concordia at the Dome. That'll be tomorrow again against Northern Michigan, and then they'll wrap up the season in April against Indianapolis, going out to Colorado in between that. But again, we'll talk to them in the next couple weeks. Joined by a couple athletes from the baseball team going up to Bemidji today, most of the team to play Bemidji State, but we're glad to be joined by a couple members of the pitching staff, Gus Varland and Kevin Woebke. Thank you for being here today.
Thanks for having us.
And I guess the team now 20 games in at 10-10 and went down to Arizona, been able to play some non-conference games, couple conference weekends. What were kind of, for both of you, your goals coming into the season, and how have things matched up to that so far?
Well, compared to last year, we started off the season like we knew we were going to finish middle in the pack, but we didn't know that we were going to do so well in the conference tournament. And this season we brought in a lot of guys, a lot of transfers, and our pitching staff got older, so we thought we'd get a lot better. And surprisingly enough, we didn't do as well as we wanted to in conference so far, but I think we're going to pick it up a lot.
And I guess you had certainly a big moment a couple weekends ago with your no-hitter against Southwest Minnesota State. You always hear about what it's like in the dugout during a no-hitter, pitchers with different superstitions, things like that. What was it like for you in the dugout? When did you kind of become aware that might be a possibility for you?
Well, it was about the 5th inning. I was out there, and I was like, phew, doggy, I got myself a perfect game going here. And then I went into the 6th, and I don't know, I'm kind of shut my strike zone down a little bit. The whole game, he's had a big strike zone, and then 6th inning, he turned it off like a light switch. I don't know. It was weird. And going into the 7th, I knew I had it in the bag. I just had to execute pitches and just stir the pot a little bit, just make good pitches, and that's what happened.
And then the next few days for you, what was that kind of like? You ended up getting a lot of nice accolades, National Player of the Week for Division II, and just kind of seeing those roll in.
Yeah, I was actually really surprised at how, it's going to sound a little cocky, but it's like I got famous for a little bit there. A lot of people acknowledged me all over campus and stuff, and I thought it was really cool by them, and I appreciate it a lot.
And then, you played Minot State, a team with a pretty good lineup coming in. They were able to get you a little bit in the early innings. Does that kind of give you a little bit of extra motivation now as you go into your next start and the rest of the season?
Definitely. I really want to, I just want to do better than that last start. I thought going into that, hey, I threw a no-hitter, I can go in and shut these guys down, no problem. But they proved to be a lot tougher of an opponent than I thought. And I'm not going to take any opponent for granted and just keep pitching and do what I do.
What's it been like for you having your brother on the team?
Well, he's been on my team my whole life, and at first I was like, another freaking 4 years of my brother on the team, but it actually turned out to be quite a nice experience, and I love it a lot. And I'm really glad he's on the team.
And Kevin, for you now going into your senior year here and a regular member of the rotation the last couple of years, what's kind of your comfort level been knowing this league and these teams pretty well?
Yeah, I've been fortunate enough to be a starter. I've been lucky. God bless me a lot with that. And so you go and you play all these opponents now, and it's nice to have. We finally have our set rotation on the weekend. We have our 2 guys going in midweek who we think are going to be the best 5-6 starters in the league. And we think that gives us a really good chance. And even though we dropped 3 to Minot, we were close in 2 of them. So even though we're 4-4 in conference, we could have just as easily been 6-2, which is something to work off of. So we're not where we're at, or we're not where we wanted to be, but we definitely can get there.
Staff as a whole has been able to pick up a lot of strikeouts. You've kind of increased some of your strikeout numbers early part of this season. What has kind of maybe been the key to that, improving your stuff a little bit, or just kind of a different approach on the mound?
Yeah, I finally matured. It took me a while. In the past, I would start thinking ahead, start planning on what I would do later in the count, but you got to go 1 pitch at a time. They preach it to us, and it took me 3 years, but I finally figured it out. 1 pitch at a time. I got my off speed working, try to get the hitters off balance, and then the strikeouts take care of themselves. If you execute pitches, anyone can get a strikeout. This guy can prove it to you. You can get strikeouts, but the main thing is you go and throw strikes. And with the defense we have behind us, we have phenomenal defenders: Bordewick, Rock, Taken-Stack, Hildy. You can just go and throw strikes. So I don't go and aim for strikeouts. We try to let our defense do the work.
First year was an option, and certainly just nice to get some more games in, but what was it like playing at US Bank Stadium?
Oh, phenomenal. That was incredible. I've been fortunate enough to play at Target Field and the Metrodome, but playing under that incredible stadium was insane. It was just beautiful.
And for both of you, Gus, you've kind of settled into pitching in these 7-inning games. Kevin, you've pitched in the 9-inning games. What's kind of the difference maybe in the way you approach those two, and why for both of you kind of felt comfortable in the role that you have?
Personally, you can flip-flop both of us. It doesn't really matter. I go into each game as if it was a 9 or as if it was a 7. It doesn't matter to me at all.
Yeah, you go out there, you got to do what you got to do for the team. And when you have, like I said earlier, you have the guys behind you, you can go and throw strikes. You don't have to waste pitches trying to get strikeouts. Keeps the pitch count low, and even if the pitch count gets high up, we have a phenomenal bullpen. They'll come in and back us up.
Mm-hmm.
And you talked about how you feel the team was pretty close in those Minot games. What can you kind of do to kind of hit your stride here in April and get on a winning streak as you get into the conference tournament?
Yeah, you got to find that winning mentality, and we were lucky enough to find it early last season, and then again in playoffs, which is why we were able to make that push. And honestly, I think if we go down or up to Bemidji today and win 2, we're going to get in a groove, and all of a sudden we can take 4 from Crookston, and then we got a tougher part of the schedule coming up. But our pitching's strong, and our hitting can prove that they can score runs when they need to.
All right, well, Gus, Kevin, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Gus Varland and Kevin Woebke on Golden Bear Insider. Golden Bear's on the road here for the next couple weeks, but we will have the webcasts for all the home games, so we certainly can check out the schedule for that and see that on cspbears.com. We'll have webcasts of all the home games. So we are joined now by softball, and thank you both for being here today as softball team getting ready to begin the schedule, the home portion of the schedule on Saturday. And I guess for head coach Bob Bartel, how do you kind of feel the team has been improving? Is tough start, I guess, maybe to the season with some losses early on, but played well in Florida and pretty close in those first 2 conference games.
I think we've improved since the first game. We played Mankato right off the bat up in St. Cloud and got spanked a little bit. I thought we played well after that in the Dome. I lost 2 extra inning games to Augustana and Sioux Falls, both quality teams. Went down to Arkansas and got better as the weekend went on. And without a doubt, what's helping us get better is our pitching staff has improved drastically and set some goals for themselves and are working hard at keeping us in games and doing a fantastic job. So if I could pinpoint one area that's really improved, it would be our pitching staff for sure.
And kind of mentioned Minnesota State. You played them in the very first game of the year, and they beat you in 5 innings in that one. And certainly would have liked to get the wins, but a lot closer, more competitive when you saw them to open up the conference season. Did that just sort of illustrate where the team's been able to improve the different results against Minnesota State?
Again, our pitching staff kept us in that game. If you'd have told me that we would keep them to 4 games or 4 runs both games, I'm in. Give us a chance to maybe manufacture some runs and pull out a win here and there. But they're a very good team with probably the top pitcher for sure in this region, in Coley Rees, and their Linzy Bemis also throws very well. I think they might be the 1-2 top pitchers in their league right now based on stats. So we knew it would be a tough task scoring runs, and it was. But our pitching staff gave us a chance to at least stay in the game and give us a chance to win. So.
And what specifically have you seen from the pitching staff that's been a little bit different?
I think confidence. And she could probably talk a little bit more about that. But you can definitely see more resolve when they're out in the circle, and just more determination and more focus and more concentration, and to me, more confidence in that they're going to get people out. So.
Yeah, I guess how has that kind of manifested itself for the pitching staff, seeing those improvements?
I think just like you said, confidence, just knowing that we can get out there and get ahead early. I think that we're focusing on first pitch strikes and then working into off-speed in different situations. So I think that that's huge for us.
And for you, you've been now quite a few years now in this conference, and has it helped to just sort of have that familiarity as you continue to learn the league?
Yeah, I think so. I think going into a game, I'm much more calm, and I kind of know what to expect with different teams. So I think I can set up batters a little bit better, and then we rely on our coaches better to understand, what that team's going to do, and then you kind of buy into that and understand for yourself.
You've been splitting time with Samantha Sullivan. Kind of how have you been working to mentor her in her freshman year?
Yeah, Sammy's great. She has a great attitude, and I feed off her energy, really. I mean, she goes out there and gets every game, and so together we just try and keep each other up and keep each other moving.
Team has hit pretty well, and a batting average above 300, pretty good on base percentage. How does that kind of give you confidence, knowing that generally speaking, most games you're going to get some runs?
Yeah, it's great. I have no doubt in any game that we'll come back and score runs if we're behind, or we'll go out there and jump ahead of a team, and then I can hold that lead for my players, and then they'll keep getting me runs so that we can keep that win going. So, yeah, hitting's been huge.
And Bob, I mentioned those numbers. Are you pretty, just in general, comfortable with where the offense is at right now and the lineup you're putting out there?
Yeah. Obviously, average-wise, we're hitting the ball, getting on base pretty well. I'd like to see us improve with runners in scoring position, hitting-wise, getting some key hits, especially with 2 outs. I think 2-out hitting with runners in scoring position is huge. So I'd like to see us do a better job with that. We're also going to start working hard on 2-strike hitting too. We need to do a better job of putting the ball in play with 2 strikes. So we're going to work hard on that today and tomorrow.
We kind of mentioned it. You started the conference season against maybe the best team in the league in Minnesota State. Have you kind of gotten a sense of how the rest of the league is shaping up and where you're going to try to fit into that over the course of the season here?
I won't predict. I have a gut feeling of I think where we should finish. But you just never know. You can have injuries. Other teams could have injuries. Team gets hot. You just never know. But I have a gut feeling of where I think we should finish. And I'll just say this: I'll be very disappointed if we don't make the conference tournament this year. So, but that's the goal, and I truly believe that we'll accomplish that goal for sure.
And it had a lot of, as it always is the case, a lot of games on the road so far. But you get to have the home opener coming up here on Saturday. I have to imagine that feels pretty good for everybody to finally get to play here on campus.
Yeah, obviously, and the weather's supposed to be pretty good, so it's always nice to play in decent weather. So, and hopefully we can get some fans out to come watch on a gorgeous day and get some wins for them.
All right, well, Bob Bartel, Linzy Heim, thank you for being here today, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you.
So softball with the home opener coming up this Saturday. They'll have Wayne State in here Saturday afternoon. Augustana coming in this weekend as well on Sunday. So full schedule again on CSPBears.com, and we will have the webcast of all the home games that are able to be played, of course, with weather, but you can always check out the website as well for scheduling updates. Schedule on the website is always somewhat tentative, but keep you posted on any changes that are made. So glad to be back for this kind of late March edition of the show. We'll likely do another one here in the next couple weeks for the month of April, maybe get one in May as well, so maybe 2 more shows before the seasons wrap up. But I'd like to thank all the guests again, Taylor Auman and Savannah Stone from golf, also Sam Johnson, Wakpor Ighovojah from track and field, Mo Dunnigan and Maddie Hentges from lacrosse, Gus Varland, Kevin Woebke from baseball, and of course Bob Bartel, Linzy, Heim from softball. We'll be back again in a couple weeks. Thank you for watching. This has been Golden Bear Insider.